Ooh.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Go Bold or Go Home podcast. This week for episode 9, we have Dylan returning again as our special guest. So Dylan is back because we had a little side bet. And at the time, I was very confident and foolish because I thought I was outside the reign of the injury gods. And they took the love of my life, Derrick Henry, from me. And I will have my revenge, but not this year. And so Dylan decided, you know what, that wasn't enough because of all the trash talk they have been giving him and his team. So he went out and made probably the best trade of the whole season and got Jonathan Taylor after a month of negotiations. And you know what? I respect that. So let's all take a moment, applaud that. And let's take a moment where I formally apologize for doubting your ability as a team manager, commissioner, and as a leader of fantasy people. I doubted your ability, and I am humbly sorry. Also, I want it known that I've had to do this now twice because we had some tech issues. So this really hurts more than anyone could ever fathom. And the pain will probably keep me up all night. So, Dylan, do you accept my formal apology? And I will not make fun of your team the rest of the season, ever.
You said I humbly apologize.
I humbly apologize. I admit.
For what again? What were you doing?
I was ragging on your ability as a leader of people in a virtual format.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. I'll take it. That sounds so
Oh no, Dylan, no.
frozen.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Oh, God.
I got scared.
I feel like it's someone's internet connection, but mine's still showing full bars. So we're gonna keep on moving. Anyway,
Someone's mine.
It could be mine. Who knows? Let's just keep moving. Fingers crossed. We'll start off and talk about what we're doing today. So today we're doing contenders versus pretenders. So what I've done, there are 12 of us. Only 6 of us will make the playoffs. So for you to be considered a contender, I have to say that you are most likely making the playoffs, in my opinion. And so what I did, I didn't even look at the ESPN's final standing projections because I focus more on strength of schedule remaining. So looking on who you're playing, I looked on who, obviously the rosters, who you have coming back, moves you've made. And then the other big thing is points scored because, if your team's putting up points, you're in a good spot. So as we go through, and then obviously there's a little bit of gut because it's go bold or go home, and it wouldn't be an episode with my opinions being heavily poured in. So as we go in, we'll start with the one and only Dylan's team, and you can give some comments after we talk about it. So let's look here. Matthew Stafford kind of gave you a bit of a scare, I feel like, because he was struggling, and if I had even had a decent performance, it might have actually been a game this week. But Stafford won't do that. He's going to come back and ball out the rest of the season. I mean, that team's loaded. You have 2 amazing running backs now. So, literally, you have the number 2 quarterback, number 2 running back, number 6 running back, and top defense, and all the other players are top 30 in their position. Your receiver is your weakest spot.
It's been nice having T. Higgins and Hunter Renfrow just get me a solid 10 every week.
Hey, T. Higgins, I told you, he's a solid 10 points. He's consistent.
He's due for a breakout. He's got the majority market share. He still is the receiver 1 on that team. He gets the most targets, and he hasn't had any big plays.
He gets up and hey, eventually Dawson Knox will be back, and he's a top 10 tight end with missing a couple weeks. So that's still pretty good right there. So with that said, I think it's pretty safe to say you are a contender, sir. So I have Dylan as one of the top teams in our league now, especially after Jonathan Taylor trade, because without Henry, he's going to be the number one running back this season. And I think the Colts are finally getting into that running game groove. And the thing with him is he's a 3-down back. Even with Hines there, the dude will catch on the screens and run as well. Any comments, disagreements, agreements?
You just froze for a second. So, and I'm getting your internet connection is unstable, so that's fun. But
that's on your fault.
It is my fault. Yeah, which made I don't know. I didn't get to soak in that apology as much as I wanted to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm close. I'm very close. I still think I'm fifth because I'm fourth in scoring. I have a very tough schedule. I think I play two of the top 4 scorers twice.
Yeah.
Week 14. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be close. But we shall see. I really hope.
I have you as a top 2 team. I think you're underselling it, but I think you have that hesitancy because it's just like this week when you're like, oh man, Nolan still has a chance to win, and I was like, sir, my whole team's played, we've lost already. But I mean, I think that's good for you because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have gone probably to go get Jonathan Taylor or make the moves you made to better your team, even when it was a pretty solid team. So,
you want some funny context for the Jonathan Taylor trade?
Sure, let's hear it.
I offered the exact same trade to Jake for Jamar Chase. He declined it. I also then had the thought to make that trade offer to Clint for Jonathan Taylor, but like the negotiation for Jonathan Taylor took like a month because I made an original offer. I don't think he responded. And then I made a second offer involving Andrews and he responded with some interest. And then I made a third offer that didn't get a response. And then the fourth offer was the one that he finally like responded to and liked. So it was crazy. And it took a whole month of negotiating.
Hey, sometimes that's what it takes for those type of trades, and they're completely worth it. So,
oh, for sure.
All right, here we go. Moving on. Steven's team. So, as we can see, Steven's team, he made a great trade and got Aaron Jones, which I'm now regretting having let walk because in my head I was like, Derrick Henry will never get hurt. And I really miss Jones now, so baby come back type vibes. But having him, Darrell Henderson, and Swift as his running backs, plus AJ Brown and Cooper Kupp, his skill position is just scary good. So I think with that, and he has a pretty average strength of schedule left. He is facing, half our league is in that 5-4 win range, and he's facing about half, of that left. He does have a couple tough matchups, but I still think, the dude's projecting 107 points this week, and he's just going to keep putting up monster point totals the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's a toss-up because you said I had the trade of the year, but really, like, the trade of the year is determined by who wins the championship. So if he wins the championship, like his trade, I guess, for Kamara, for Aaron Jones, and Darrell Henderson is probably the trade of the season because that made him an instant contender. He already had Cooper Kupp, number 1 receiver, who's just been a monster this year.
I just wonder if he's going to change his name from Bishop Sycamore to Bishop Winmore or something like that. I don't know.
His only weakness was tight end, and then he got TJ Hawkinson, and I was kind of slightly behind the curve on TJ Hawkinson. I was hoping to trade for him, but I just entered negotiations late. He got him, and I was like, oh, dang it.
His bench is not bad either. Harris is starting to find himself, and then now he's got Waddle and Pat, that was a great pickup by him. I know you wanted him, and he just stole him.
Pat Fryermuth was one of the players I really wanted off the waivers and didn't get him.
Yeah. Well,
I am shocked you made that trade for Aaron Jones and split up the Henry Jones core. I know why you did it, but I'm still shocked you did.
I mean, Fournette's been producing. I was sitting there like, all right, I'm solid. I can get a top pick for it. So I got 2 firsts and felt great. And then Henry went down, and last week was rough too because Fournette was on bye. So it was, and I also thought, I was like, I have Myles Gaskin as a 3rd running back, so I'll be okay. No, I'm not okay. Life's not okay. But that is why we have Stephen as contender. So, all right, moving on to Ben here. Ben was interesting. I was high on him at the beginning of the year, but that was also me thinking that Patrick Mahomes was going to be Patrick Mahomes and the number 1 or number 2 quarterback in fantasy, not number 6, which isn't terrible, but for a keeper at a quarterback position, you want them as 1 or 2, I feel like. Because once you get to 6 and on in the quarterback list, the drop off like really isn't that much between 6 and like 12 on the quarterbacks. Because if you look at it, like your 12th best quarterback, I believe is Derek Carr, and he's doing like 17 points a week, 17 or 18. So it's not that much difference. I think his hurt too also comes. He did get Josh Jacobs from me late, and Cordell Patterson as well was a good pickup. But Josh Jacobs' injuries are hurting him, and outside of that, and David Montgomery not being available, kind of running back game has been not where he wants it to be. And then CD is either a boom or bust, depending on what the Cowboys do. If it's going to be a Cooper game, if it's going to be a Zeke game, or if it's going to be a CD game, or if it's going to be against the Broncos, who apparently are kryptonite for them. So, yeah, it's been a little disappointing, and that is why I have been as a pretender.
Yeah, I mean, he fell behind a game this last week, losing to Andre, who I'm sure we'll talk about him, but tight end looks a little rough for Ben. I think he's going to have to make up a lot of draft value with some of these players. He's got a lot of running back depth now.
Mm-hmm.
He might keep David Montgomery, who I'm high on, but he has an easy rest of season schedule. I believe he plays some crazy easy rush defenses, so he might finish top 4 again late again. David Montgomery went on a tear last year to finish number 4 at the end of the season, so he could do it again.
I agree with your statement that Ben just fell behind too early. I think how competitive it's been in our top group of the league, it's going to be really hard to take out one of those spots. I think Ben's chance would be he would have to either win out or go 4-1 in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, I guess I should address that. Like, we have you and Colton kind of sitting comfortably a little bit ahead. And then, so that's like, I can't see y'all dropping out. That's 2 spots taken of 6. So, and then you've got 7 competitive teams fighting for 4 spots.
Yeah.
That's
so
tough.
It's going to be, and trust me, this was everyone listening here. This was very hard because the lines are so blurred. It's so close that honestly, there was a couple that I just had to go gut, just like how I feel a team's progressing. Do I think that they're going to be able to win 4 of their last 5? And that's where I had to actually sit and think about it. But I think right now, I feel comfortable saying pretender. So sorry, Ben. I was high on you most of the season, but just fell behind too far.
He plays you next week, by the way.
Yeah. So we'll see if Fournette can carry me, and hopefully CEH is back. Now we're going to get to James. So clearly we have a contender here.
Obviously.
So let's go ahead and not be around the bush. James, you really, I mean, you got Dobbins. That's nice for next year, but you really need a star running back because Gibson was not that. And when Tony Pollard is probably one of your best running backs, I love Pollard, but he's not a starting RB1 every week. Gainwell has been pretty much a fantasy bust because they decide they like Scott and Howard better, and Sanders will come back soon as well. Tannehill's been tearing it up though, so that helps you. And I think, I mean, hopefully Peoples Jones continues to progress, but yeah, James, we're not gonna debate it on it. You're a pretender, sir. And I think you know it. I think we all know it. But building for next year, that is your goal. Get those draft picks. That's what you need.
If he drafts well, he'll be a contender next year. I think Michael Thomas is not a keeper. So I look at this roster and I think, what are his keepers? And I think J.K. Dobbins is for sure one. You ragged on Antonio Gibson, and he could bounce back. He's been playing hobbled all year, so I don't know.
He could.
I mean, that's tough.
A border keeper for me, and this is something I think I told James. We were talking earlier this week, and I was like, I feel like you need to find that third keeper, which might have to give up a draft pick next year for, just because, like, that's sometimes what a keeper's worth. But I learned this also last year is sometimes if you have to give up a second round pick or even just move a few spots back in one of the rounds to get someone that can help you next season, it is worth it because depending on who you get.
I mean, you're talking to someone who moves 2 second-round picks for a keeper. So
I think you could agree. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I moved so much draft capital for a keeper, and
I think it's worth it. A dart at a dartboard. You could trust what your eyes see with some of these players already.
True.
All right. Well, moving forward, we got Andre. Now, this is one of our first really interesting ones. So I'm going to let you guess once we get through. But
I'm going to guess right now, actually. Can I?
Go for it.
He's a contender. Absolutely. I mean, Lamar Jackson is a top, 3 now quarterback? Isn't he number 2 or number 1?
He's 4. He is number 4 right now. But the last couple of weeks, he's been a top 2.
I'm so pissed. I drafted Marquise Brown last season, and I was like, this is his breakout year. And then I was 1 year off. I was wrong.
You're 1 year off.
I was 1 year off, and he's amazing this year. And I was like, dang it. So
top 5 receiver.
Yeah, and then you've got Chris Godwin that can hit on any week. Christian McCaffrey coming back as a top running back. He navigated all of his season. Like, I'm so impressed by his season because he navigated the toughest part of his season without CMC, and now CMC's back, and you're just like, you look at this roster and you're like, it's stacked. I mean,
here's the thing. When I went through this, it's not just this. If you look at his remaining schedule, I mean, he does have Jake, and I think he does have Steven coming up, but he also, I think he plays John, and like it's either like he's playing a top team or bottom team. For the rest, because he did have to navigate in that tie from week 1, I believe, is going to help him into the playoffs. He is who I have as my last playoff spot, sneaking in as a contender, because I love Christian McCaffrey coming back, and we can't forget George Kittle coming back as well. That's going to help.
Absolutely.
So
I'm glad we're on the same page about this one. Yeah, because I was definitely just like, dude, he's got everything he needs. He's got a resurgent Zach Ertz sort of on the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, like, he's got depth. He doesn't have a running back, so if CMC goes down again, I guess he drops out.
This is all pending, health for the players, which is not guaranteed at all. But no. Speaking of health, time for our unofficial sponsor today, which is Body Armor Light. So I don't know about you, But we've talked about body armor here before, and how it's so great to just put that invisible shield on your body to protect you and keep you safe and healthy and good to go. But sometimes that weighs you down. It's just so heavy. It has too much calories, and it's just like, And we've seen what happens to those medieval knights of old. They just get weighed down and they can't move or anything. But this is like a Kelvar vest for your body. It's light. You put it on, and you could go run a mile in it because it's only 20 calories. So shout out to our unofficial sponsor today.
Love it. I love it.
The plugs every week, they get better. All right, now we're getting on to my team here. So yeah, our IR hurts. Derrick Henry, that's some pain. I will say the other thing with my team that's kind of sucked this year is the receivers started off hot and then they're starting to cool off, and that's not helpful. And it's just, I know it's got to turn around because the target shares are insane. Like they're each getting like 10 targets a game. It's just they aren't finding the end zone. That's what's hurting them. Like Diggs only has 3 touchdowns all year, and I think 2 in the last 3 games. So he's just been not having the breakout year you would think. But as we look down it, running back has hurt me. I'm hoping Fournette can keep producing. I do like my receivers and tight end overall, still top 15 on those spots. But yeah, I need Cooper to start picking up. Moore's dropped from the top 3 receiver to 12 in just a couple of weeks, and it's starting to be noticeable pain.
Good old Sam Darnold.
Yep, and then Chase Edmonds, who I thought was going to be helpful, is now out, and he probably, even if he comes back, will not have a job because James Conner is falling out of his mind, so that hurts. And I'm hoping, basically praying on CEH coming back at some point during these weeks. So with that said, I'm still a contender, and I will tell you why.
I'm not going to drop out.
I think I'm not going to drop out. ESPN did have me, I'm at a 99% chance of making the playoffs still. So it's because of that early start and the tie. I would have to lose out, and I think I still would have a chance if I lose out. And I don't think I will, because I believe I have an average strength of schedule left. Like my toughest matches left are probably going to be Andre and Aaron. So
you do have a very easy rest of season schedule. With looking at your roster, I feel bad just because I was talking to Colton and I was like, he's a Derrick Henry injury away from not contending. And I said that like 2 weeks ago, and Colton didn't believe me at the time. And then Derrick Henry got injured, and he was like, "Holy crap, you were right." And I feel bad. I did not wish that on Derrick Henry. I was just stating the fact, especially after you made the Aaron Jones trade. When you traded Aaron Jones away, I looked at your running backs and I was like, he's confident. He's way too confident.
Yeah.
But
it got me. Confidence killed me this season, but I will say this. I think I could still make some noise in the playoffs for if 2 things happen. And I told Colton this as well, and Steven this. It's a very slim chance, but playoff teams do keep an eye on it. If my receivers start getting touchdowns and start getting back to where they're projected to be every week, so if they start performing, because like I'm already projected 99 points with Gaskin and Fournette as my top 2 running backs. So if that can happen, and then Henry is a 6 to 10 week recovery projection. So if he comes in at 8 weeks or smack middle of that projection, that'd be week 15 of the regular season. So it'd be second round of the playoffs for us. So there is a chance. Do I think it's highly likely? No, because I think the Titans might just run away with the division to where they just are like, we're going to rest Henry because they're doing fine without him right now. So
Yeah. That's crazy. I've been watching those games. Yeah, it's been crazy. Just a few more points on your roster. A lot of things blow hot and cold. So Justin Herbert, I mean, I thought he was going to be the man this year, and he's kind of like playing like he's kind of a rookie, honestly. It's a little weird. He'll go blow up for 30 points, like against me, and make me scared. And then the next week he'll go for like maybe 12. It's crazy.
And I've been trying to switch him and Burrow up depending on the matchup. So that's helped me most weeks. But yeah, it's hard because I have to sit there and guess.
And Burrow is blowing hot and cold too, as much as I love Burrow. Stefan Diggs, I think, is the biggest hurt to your season from the get-go. He was one of your keepers. You expected him to be a top 5 receiver, and he hasn't really been that this year. I don't know what happened with the Bills offense that changed that. I mean, Dawson Knox kind of emerged, but like he shouldn't be taking too much away from Diggs. I guess Sanders.
Looked at it, so looking at his stats, like I was telling someone the other day, his targets haven't changed. He's still getting targeted like double-digit targets most games. He's not finding the end zone like he was last year. He hasn't had a multi-touchdown game. He's we're at week 10 and he's only scored 3 touchdowns all season. Take him up to week 7, his brother Trayvon had more touchdowns than him. So it's one of those where he gets and his yardage hasn't been great either. He's getting a lot of 7-yard passes and things like that. So he's usually ends up like this last week. I think he had 8 receptions for I think like 70 something yards. So
yep,
it's
a few more things. Just real quick, because I feel like we're about to move on.
Oh, yeah,
much time. But I loved the Uzama pickup. I mean, he's broke out this year. Joe Burrow's making really great use of him. I tried to fight you for him on the waiver wire. I lost. Hard to do when you have $0 fab. I really do like the Clyde trade. I think he was getting it going before he got injured. So if he can get it going when he comes back, that'll be great. I was really curious why you got Myles Gaskin over Damian Harris from Steven. So I guess I have that question. Yeah. Why didn't you go for Damian Harris?
So at the time, if we think back to there's just a lot of question marks on what was going on with Tua. I know he's been banged up, and so I was like, surely they're going to start leaning on the run game heavily if they have to go to the backup. So that's why I leaned to that, because it seems like the Patriots are starting to become more of a passing game. And I mean, it's kind of balanced out a bit. It's because Gaskin hasn't been awful. He's just not getting his projected points, but he's not like busting and getting only like 2 or 3 points. Because I think he got like 10 points this last week. So he's getting some points, but yeah, definitely not an RB2. He's more a fringe flex player, in honesty. So in hindsight, I might have gone Harris because Harris has started to pick it up.
Are you keeping Waller or Diggs?
I'm still deciding.
That's got to be tough, because I know you're keeping Clyde and you're keeping Henry. That has to be the 2 keepers. But
I'm also Fournette is in the conversation as a keeper, depending how he finishes the year. If he keeps hot like he's been so far this year, I might go 3 running backs. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. Tampa Bay's offense might take a step back next year because they use the franchise tag on Godwin, so they can't keep all of their receivers together.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, if I don't remember how many years Fournette signed with them, but I feel like he might, if he's coming up on the end of his, he could either get traded or something like that. But I do like Fournette as a fantasy option because he is starting to catch more, get more in the passing game, and it's helped that Jones has taken a step back as well. So he's been able to take all the reps.
All right, who's next?
Colton is next.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Now I know he doesn't have his RB in yet, but it's fine because I think we know Colton with his early season success already. I mean, Thielen had an off week the last like 2 weeks, but he's been balling out the rest of the season. Kamara, I mean, it's hit or miss. It's a frustrating time for people, but last week was good. Um, he'll get his points, I believe, by the end of the year. He's a top 5 running back as he's ranked. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback at rank. Hunter Henry has been a top 10 tight end. And I think his thing is Saquon's coming back, which is going to help a ton for him.
If Saquon play, I just am so low on Saquon. So Colton's high on Saquon. Look, he hasn't produced anything since his freshman season. So Colton's probably listening to this saying he's going to rag on Saquon just like he does in every text message. But nah, if Saquon comes back and plays even like 50% of what he's capable of, like Colton will be in it for sure. Yeah. He just has bones of glass and muscles of glass. So.
Yep. Well, that's why I put him as a contender. I think it's hard to see him knocked out of the playoffs at this point. I will say it does hurt where that Ridley injury really, if Ridley just kind of quitting hurts, because if Ridley comes back, that would make him one of the top teams, in my opinion, for at the end of the whole thing, chance at a championship. But unfortunately, unless Saquon comes back and falls out of his mind and stays healthy, it's kind of tough to see him winning it all. But I could definitely see him in the playoffs, so he's a contender.
Yep, and he always talks about how he's just in on next year. He's like, I'm trying to get more picks, and he's already finished. Now he's finished drafting in the 7th round. How did we let that happen again? How did we let that happen again?
Because he's a master of it. All right. Well, looking in, here's Clint's team. I think we know. And he had such promise at the beginning of the year. I mean, Kyler was going off. Mark Andrews was a good pickup that he just made. I mean, he just started off so well, and then everything crashed around him. I mean, you got Chris Carson on the IR. Kenny Galladay has been out injured. Robert Woods was not who we all thought he was going to be this season. I mean, he's not terrible, but Kupp is taking all of his, action. And then
Mike
hopefully
Williams took over for Keenan Allen.
Oh, and Keenan Allen, yeah, that's been Mike Williams is taking all his touches. So,
yep.
I thought Clint was going to have a better year. He started off, I think, week 1 with a win too. So I was like, oh man, he's about to murder everybody because Kyler Murray was just dominating. So that is why you are a pretender. Bum, bum, bum.
Wah, wah, wah.
All right, looking at Aaron. So Aaron was another one of those hard to kind of nail down. His team has had some pretty big highs and it's had some pretty bad lows this season. So the running back game is very interesting because Mike Davis is not who we all thought he would be. JD McKissick, he's had like a couple really good big games, and then he's had some games where he does nothing at all. Zeke has been a reemergence, which has been great and helpful. And I think it's his wide receivers are truly carrying him. I mean, and Kelsey, of course, has been solid, but Deebo Samuel, great pick. Pittman Jr., great pick. And we all bashed him for it, but Terry McLaurin over Ridley was probably one of the best draft picks last year just because everyone was hating on him for it. And it worked out. But also that Bills defense was a top pick too that he made. So It's a solidly built team once again.
Can I say some things on it?
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all are gonna revisit the draft at the end of the year with full context, but I just can't believe that Aaron had just so many like amazing picks that were A tier, and then he had like F tier picks. Like it was not an either or situation. It was either you picked Debo Samuel and Michael Pittman, who are top 10 receivers,
Mm-hmm.
or you drafted Mike Davis, who's just been nothing. Like and
I feel
Cordarrelle
like
Patterson.
he can't pick running backs. That was his only thing last. He could not draft running backs well, but he
We all
drafted
wanted Michael Pittman.
else.
I
Yeah.
wanted Michael Pittman so bad. Colton wanted Michael Pittman so bad. He got him. We knew he was going to blow up, and he's repaying that and doing it now. And I don't know. Wish I could have got him first.
Yeah, me, it's the Debo Samuel. I didn't see that one blowing up as much, but wow. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Contender.
contender, I think it's pretty obvious. Like I said, his team can go off at any week, and I think he's high enough in the standings where he only needs like 3 wins the rest of the season.
I play him twice.
What was it?
I play him twice.
Ooh, I think y'all will split it. I think it'll be 1-1 between y'all.
I think so too, but oh man, I'm scared because I play him twice and Jake. So those are both
Hence, he's
of
throwing the ball to Devontae Adams that week, so we'll see about that.
the top 4 scorers. Those are the only 2, and I play both of them. I'm like,
Oof. Now looking at John's team, so I think we know where we are with here. Jalen Hurts, he's top 3 quarterback in fantasy, which has been really impressive. But that's what you get, like I keep saying, with a running back playing quarterback. You're going to have a lot of fantasy points there. But I will say, DK Metcalf. It's the first 2 weeks we were all worried because Tyler Lockett got all the touches. But now Metcalf's just reemerged again and has been balling out. But unfortunately, I think John is running backs have hurt kind of for him. Joe Mixon's been hit, but Nick Chubb getting hurt, Miles Sanders getting hurt. That kind of just took a toll on his team and put him in a hole that it's kind of hard to climb out of now.
sucks because he had so much brutal losses. Like he was so close to beating Colton last week, and then Colton won. He was in it. I think he beat me. So I mean, kudos, I guess. But I was so pissed I lost to him and Andre back to back. I was like, what is happening? I was losing my mind. But yeah, I mean, he's been in it against other people and lost. His team's high scoring. It's kind of unfortunate to see. Injuries have hurt. And if the Seahawks were what they were last year, he's a contender, no doubt.
If Russell Wilson never got hurt and they're still slinging the ball, yeah, he would be a contender, no doubt. But unfortunately, he is not. He is a pretender.
Agreed.
Hayden. Now, this one's another one of those interesting ones because as it stands, he's technically, I believe, either just on the outside or tied for one of those like last playoff spots. I think I
have no idea which one you're going to go here, by the way. This is one I'm debating on.
Yeah. So I'll leave that as a surprise, but I'll say this. Dak, for most of the season, has been playing amazing. Last week was rough for everyone on the Cowboys. But I will say Dalvin Cook, he'll get his points. I mean, he's 22, but a lot of that comes because he missed a couple games with injury. And I think that hurt Hayden when that happened. Having Darrell Williams was a great pickup on the waiver once we all knew that Clyde was out. And if I remember, he picked up Williams like a week before the injury. And so none of us were able to have a chance at it. Mike Evans has been a great pick, but I mean, just looking at these rankings right here, top 10 on half of his starters. I should have never traded Mike Gesicki. That was a mistake I made. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek
You
Hill.
traded him, Mike Gesicki?
I drafted Mike Gesicki.
Oh, yeah. And you dropped him to waivers?
I I think I did actually. You're right. I dropped. I didn't even trade him. I remember Steve
Oh,
roasted me that on the draft analysis. He was like, "This was an A+ pick because I got him near the end of the draft," and then I was like, he had on week 2. I was just like, "Oh, I need a running back help," and I was like, "I don't need a backup tight end right now," and dropped him, and that backfired terribly.
I tried to trade Hayden for Gesicki a few weeks ago. Didn't work out. And Jake, I don't know how he's going to get the Broncos defense and Teddy Bridgewater. He's got to.
He's
He's got
got
to get all the Broncos.
Come on, Jake. We expect the trade. I want to see Teddy on your team.
And the Broncos D.
So I don't know. This is just go backup quarterback for backup quarterback. It'll be great. But I will say, starting out when I was like, all right, this guy drafted Travis Etienne in the draft when he could have got him for free after or with the last pick. But hey, it worked out. But in the end, he is still.
Whoa.
Yeah, big.
Oh, wow.
Here's why. CEH is going to come back, so that's going to take out that running back spot right there. And I don't think Devin Singletary is a good running back replacement for when Williams comes back to being second string running back. Why the tight end flex is working, I think, and I know he's got Corey Davis that he could put in. I just don't think Corey Davis is going to sustain success, especially now that Mike White is out as well, and they're on their third string quarterback. So I think it's just going to be too hard. And when I went and looked at his strength of schedule, he has to play both you, Steven, and Jake. So,
ouch.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough call. This is the team that I've been going back and forth on this exact question like all year long, because he's the reigning champ. He's got pieces that should work. Tyreek Hill should be a monster, but some weeks it's like he didn't even show up. But I know it's because defenses are locking in on him. Mike Evans is also dominant, but just like flip a coin, heads or tails. If it hits, he's going to get a monster game. Dalvin Cook was injured for a little bit, playing hobbled. He's coming back. Corey Davis was a great draft pick. Injury didn't help. And my last question for you is just like, do you think Travis Etienne is a keeper?
Oh yeah, he's going to keep Travis at the end. Yeah,
you think so?
That's why.
Is that worth it?
I don't think so personally, but hey, that'd
be crazy.
It's not my decision on who other people keep.
No, but I'd just be so shocked. Like even this year, I wasn't like, oh yeah, Travis Etienne's just gonna be a baller. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be interesting for the RB2 on the Jaguars, which is not a great team. So
it just seems like it'll become a Bronco situation.
So now we get to Jake. So this one,
contender.
Let's look over this. So we have Eckler and Connor. Connor's been going out of his mind now and taking away reps from Edmonds. Eckler's been a top 5 running back. He has the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football at this point in Tom Brady, which I thought I would never say this season, but here I am. Kyle Pitts has finally just arrived. And I think the big thing for him is Jamar Chase was a great pick in the draft. And Mike Williams was a great pick in the draft. And yeah, that is definitely going to help his team a lot. His team has put up some of the most points we've seen in most weeks. It's a scary team. It really is.
Is he the top scorer? Did he overtake you?
He has the record for a single week. I think he got, it was like 159 or 160, something like that. It was insane. Everyone on his team had like a 20+ point performance that week.
I was talking about points for just in general. No, you still have 970.5 and he has 911.5.
And that's the thing. So Jake's team.
I'm sorry, he has 985, so he did pass you. I'm sorry, I was looking at me.
I mean, I only scored like 80 points this last week. It was pretty bad. So, but I put him as a
what? Nope, no way.
This is my hot take now. Keep in mind, we don't have that many spots, and we've already.
This is your hottest take. No way.
I looked at his schedule and so every team he plays is currently in the top 8 in our league. I think part of it, I don't know how much James Conner's success will sustain. I know he has Judy coming back and looking pretty good. It's a great team. It really is. But like you also mentioned, I don't think Tom Brady's going to keep throwing insane amount of fantasy points every single week. But maybe that's just me doubting Tom Brady at his age. I think
that's
also
you doubting Tom Brady at his age because he's top 2 quarterback in the year.
Yeah. I think his team is too up and down because there's a reason, he's not undefeated, even though he's got the highest point total, is because he goes off on, 1 week. And then the next week, some of his players just might not get all the action they're getting. And I think the Bengals are starting to, cool off as they're starting to key in on Jamar Chase a bit as well. And we have seen that the last 2 weeks. So with that in mind, I have him as a pretender. I could eat my words. This one really hurt, but it came down. It was between him and Andre, and I went based on strength of schedule, and strength of schedule favors Andre.
Wow. Just a few comments on that one real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you pull it back up, his team?
Oh, I can. Give me a sec.
Jake's team. Wow. Okay, so that was crazy because strength of schedule, I didn't realize how hard his was, but yeah, that is tough. And could you imagine just being the top scorer in the league and not even making the playoffs? If that happens, I'll cede my unlucky crown. I will give it up. I will say Jake here is the most unlucky because that's insane. Like he had a ton of players that just went off that are top 10, top 5 at their position. Everything looked great for a while. It's starting to come to a little bit of a stuttering stop, and I guess he's really not doing himself favors racking up all the Broncos together.
And I will say that is actually something I thought about too, because I was like, I love it. I think it's hilarious. And I think that could be dangerous with him having a tough strength of schedule remaining, because if he does that 1 week and he takes an L on that week just because the Broncos have a bad game and it hurts him, I don't think he can afford to lose. That's the thing. A lot of our other contenders, they can afford to lose 1 or 2 games. I think Jake's position is if he loses 1 or 2 games, it's helping the people he loses to.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's tough. His keepers to me are interesting just because I'm looking at this team wondering what's not going to make the cut. Because if I were him, I'd keep Austin Eckler, I'd keep Jamar Chase, and I know he's already expressed interest in keeping Javonte Williams, so that leaves DeAndre Hopkins and Kyle Pitts out in the cold.
And that's what I'm wondering.
And you can have the number 1 overall pick, but you're not getting both of those guys back. So just seeing this team, I'm like, oh my gosh, this team should be a contender. There's no doubt in my mind. This is a contending squad. And then
I'll flash it up again for you.
It's so tough. Oh man, Jake's gonna be mad at you, and he's gonna make that same gentleman's bet against you, and y'all play each other in like 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm not gonna do it in the head-to-head because I know I won't win that. But I will say I might do a side gentleman's bet for if I am correct and he doesn't make the playoffs. I think he'll be the first team out of the playoffs.
Oh, that's so tough.
I'll
give him my crown. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, there's some bold picks today. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this week. We got some really good matchups. So join us next week as we go back and do our weekly review of all the matchups and see whose players are hot, whose players are cold, who's a fluke, and who is dog crap. So thanks, Dylan, for joining us. Everyone, once again, I apologize to Dylan because his team is the better team and my team is trash now. And I'll see y'all next week.